Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Teen Pregnancy Prevention Grants Information Session webinar. And we're going to make sure we are all technically savvy and ready to go. If there are any echoes or you can't hear something, please message us immediately so we can fix it. All right, so for this webinar, your microphones are on mute, but you can type in your messages at any time. And we will answer any questions or any or comment on any of your comments as we get them, as we receive them. A recording of this webinar will be posted on our grant making page within a couple of days, and we are recording. Is that correct, Michelle? Yes. And a handout with the highlights from this webinar was emailed to you if you registered for this webinar. If you need an emailed handout, message us right now or go to the website, and it's posted on the website for you to download. Okay. This is Sandra Flores. I am the Senior Program Officer at the Foundation. Also in the room with me is Kelvin Alfaro, who is our Program Officer, and Michelle Murphy is here with us. She's our Foundation Support Specialist. We are the three people who will be managing all questions and the application process for this grant cycle. Okay, who is the Fresno Regional Foundation? We are a community benefit organization. We're a 501c3 community foundation. We've been serving the central San Joaquin Valley since 1966. Our regional footprint includes Fresno, Madera, Kings, Tulare, Mariposa, and Merced counties. For this particular grant cycle, we will only be serving 5. Mariposa is not included. We will talk a little bit more about that in a bit. Let's go on to the foundation assets are at a little over $66 million. And we added this slide to the presentation so that it gives you a sense of where the assets are coming from. So all of it is not discretionary dollars and that we could do whatever we want with the $66 million. But here are the particular funds that the foundation is managing and comprises our total assets. Okay, let's go to the next. All right, we have a total of 5 grant cycles. Teen Pregnancy Prevention is the 3rd one this year. In 2007, the foundation went through a process of identifying how we would put together a fair and transparent, competitive grant-making process. We launched it in 2008, and we began the grant-making program with Arts and Culture, Youth, and Human Services. At that time, we had 2 special considerations for teen pregnancy prevention and one for air quality. And we had the special considerations as a result of a partnership with the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. In 2011, air quality emerged into the grant cycle of the environment, and teen pregnancy prevention we are treating as its own grant cycle. It has generated enough interest, and the resources that are being allocated to it has kind of emerged as its own. In 2012, we added our newest grant cycle, High Impact. It's an issue-based grant-making program that focuses on how we support families and children 0 to 8 for success by 3rd grade. And we'll be talking a little bit more about that particular grant cycle in a bit. All right. We are going to issue some polls just so that we can get a sense of who's out there. So the first question is, will this be your organization's first time applying to Fresno Regional Foundation? So we'll wait for everybody to respond. Give it a few seconds here. Michelle will tell me when we've got. Okay. So we have 13% of you are applying to us for the first time. Okay, that's good for us to know. 88% are returning, and everybody is certain about whether they've applied or not. Okay, great. The next question is, what funding scenario are you applying to? The 2-year program grants, pilot grants, or planning grants? So we'll give you a few seconds. Let's see here. I'll wait for Michelle to give me the green light. Program, pilots, here we go. All right, 88% are applying for the 2-year grants, and we've got 13% of you applying for pilot, and we don't have anybody on this webinar applying for planning. Okay, interesting. And then our last question, does your organization serve urban or rural communities, or both? Again, this helps us assess who's applying to this particular grant cycle. We'll give you a few seconds. Here we go. All right, we've got over half of you serving both, and then 38% just serving urban, and nobody just focusing on rural. Okay, very interesting. Thank you for that. Okay, our agenda today is we will go over the funding priority. We will go over reporting requirements. We will focus on the questions, the aspects of how to apply that generate the most questions. We're going to recap on the final tips, and then we will take questions. We'll take questions at the end, and we will take questions as we are going. Simply type them in. We've allotted an hour for this webinar, and we will get started now on the goals to fund. Okay, so the goals to fund. We have 3 types of funding scenarios are offered, 3 types of grants that will be offered. There we go. Yes. Pilot grants, planning grants, and program grants to support teen pregnancy prevention programs that are comprehensive, medically accurate, and provide access to referrals to clinical services. The differences between them. So the program grants are 2-year grants, and those are going to be supporting programs that align with all of the eligibility criteria that we will go into. Planning grants and pilot grants are 1 year, and we will, the planning grants will help support to go into the 2-year grants for programs, and the pilot grants we're offering are kind of letting us explore how we engage new partners and parents and community into this conversation around reproductive health. All right. We have $350,000 available for organizations serving the 5 counties of Fresno, Merced, Madera, Tulare, and Kings County. The grant ranges in duration for program grants, $50,000 to $100,000, and these are 2 years. So if you're applying for a $50,000 grant, that's going to be $25,000 per year. If you're applying for a $100,000 grant, it's going to be $50,000 over 2 years. The pilot and planning grants, again, are 1 year, and the grant ranges are $20,000 to $25,000. All right. So we're going to talk about the program grants right now. And these grants will fund programs that provide reproductive health services, comprehensive sexuality education, or youth development initiatives aimed at reducing teen pregnancy prevention. Youth development initiatives should demonstrate working with young people and their families in such a way that allows them to develop leadership skills. These grants will support organizations offering TPP programs that are comprehensive, medically accurate, provide access or referrals to clinical services. We have also, these programs will also require, are we in the eligibility criteria here? Yes. So we're going into the requirements for these grants, and these elements are all required for these program grants. The committee will review the applications, and they go down each of these eligibility criteria and check yes or no for each of them, and these all must have a yes by them. So the medically accurate, comprehensive, and free from bias, gender appropriate, culturally and linguistically competent for target population, providing referrals to a family planning service provider. So if the applying organization is not providing clinical services, you have to have a letter of support from the partner that is providing clinical services. The curriculum that is used for this program must be evidence-based, and we have provided links for you to check your curriculum to see if it is on the list that the committee is reviewing. If the curriculum is not on the list, then please contact me and submit the curriculum and the information that you'll be using so that I may forward that to the committee in advance of your application. So they can review it and they can provide you with the accepting of the curriculum or not. But we need this well in advance of the deadline. All right. So here we go. We're on the pilot and planning grants. So pilot and planning grants may fund planning, pilot projects, training and development of staff and or volunteers, training and education of evidence-based curriculum, gender-appropriate training and education for staff and volunteers, youth conferences that include reproductive health, parent engagement programs, and or peer outreach teams. This is not as rigorous as the program grants, and this was intentional. The pilot grants in particular, we are experimenting and testing, so we're betting small, with $20,000 to $25,000. The planning grants are very, they're to help you lead into a two-year grant, so they're going to have to align with the curriculum. It has to be evidence-based, and so you're training your staff and getting ready for a two-year grant, which, again, is rigorous. So the planning grant is allowing a year to prepare the staff on the curriculum and to prepare the implementation of a two-year grant. The pilot grants, again, for experiment and test, and really focusing on how we engage communities, families, parents in this conversation of reproductive health. Eligibility criteria for planning and pilot. So here are the pilot grants. These grants are intended to supplement core TPP interventions. Examples include innovative or culturally relevant approaches, parent education, community outreach, and education. And for the planning grants, these grants are intended to support organizations to develop TPP programming by culturally relevant purchasing, by being culturally relevant, purchasing evidence-based curriculum, training staff, identifying and partnering with clinical services, activities to support the implementation of the program. Okay, so we went over the eligibility criteria, and those were kind of the required, those are not kind of, those are the required aspects of the grants. The selection criteria are the items that will cause the applicant's proposal to receive a higher ranking. So we are trying to give applicants some information about the sweet spots of this committee and what have identified that will increase the success of the program. So for the, let's say, pilot grants and planning grants, having the service provider referral system developed. This means we want to see the organization track their youth using clinical services. So this is a tracking process. Another selection criteria is have a youth development focus. Involve parents or significant adults in the outcomes well. These selection criteria are not exclusive, but they will help the proposal receive a higher ranking.
And Sandra, I just want to add that these selection criteria are for all funding scenarios for planning, pilot, and program grants.
All right, some additional ones on the next slide. Sustainability of the program, partner with organizations doing related work, knowledge of other organizations doing related work. So we have listed all of them, and again, these are to help you identify these sweet spots to these particular grant scenarios. Okay, I'm going to pause here to see if we have any questions, because we're going to transition into, after the slide, into a video. I'm going to talk a little bit more, but I want to pause to see if we have any questions. No. All right. So I mentioned that our newest grant cycle is high impact, which is supporting families and children 0 to 8 for success by 3rd grade. This issue-based grant making is a result of a relationship with the James Irvine Foundation. James Irvine Foundation said, what if the Fresno Regional Foundation identified the most pressing issue in this region? And once we did that, what if the Fresno Regional Foundation also built a $20 million endowment that would continually sustain the issue base, the most pressing need in the Central Valley? And that has led us to our high impact. So the issue-based piece of the grant making is the high impact grant cycle. And when we identified the issue, the foundation went through a 9-month process with a committee that was selected, reflected of the Central Valley, to identify the most pressing issue, which was how we support families and children 0 to 8 for success by 3rd grade. Through that process, we learned the committee identified some things that they thought were critical to approaching and addressing this issue through the grant making. And as we discussed, through the 9 months, we discovered that what we were describing was something called collective impact. Now, collective impact is a framework. What we've learned is that many communities and many organizations have been working in this way, sharing these characteristics for a long time. But collective impact is new to the foundation, so it's a framework for foundations to assess and identify integrated approaches to addressing an issue. So FRF values collaboration with other organizations and agencies for greater results. We believe working together in this way will contribute to sustainable community change. Demonstrating how your organization works with other stakeholders will cause your proposal to receive a higher ranking. And some of the elements include a shared vision, shared measurements, constant communication, and building on the services and strengths of other stakeholders. This is a real integrated approach to the work. The foundation is applying this approach to the other grant cycles. While it started with high impact, we have seen it recently in our youth grant cycle, and we are applying it to our teen pregnancy. Now, you notice that it was not in the eligibility criteria, so it's not a non-negotiable. It's in the selection criteria. We are encouraging organizations to think about how they integrate reproductive health work with other partners so that there is a mutual reinforcing of your work in the community. With that, we're going to show a video. I'm going to mute myself right now, and Kelvin is going to play the video for you.
Hi, everybody. Please let us know if you are unable to hear the video, hear or see the video.
Collective impact. Diverse organizations coming together to solve a complex social problem. Traditionally, nonprofits have operated in isolation from one another, pursuing their goals independently. But complex, large-scale problems require a coordinated, structured, and collaborative approach. Collective impact means creating alignment, commitment, policy, funding, trust, and coordinating across sectors, public, nonprofits, business, governments, foundations. Collective impact efforts typically have 5 conditions. Common agenda. This means all parties agree to shared goals and how to get there. Shared measurement. Keeping track of the same things. Mutually reinforcing activities. Each actor doing their own part, using their unique skills. Continuous communication. Regularly sharing results with each other. Backbone organization. A support team that helps mobilize, coordinate, and facilitate to keep the goal in sight and the progress rolling. Channeling our collective strength, we can solve the world's toughest problems. Collective impact. Diverse organizations coming together to solve a complex social problem.
Okay, I think I'm back on, and I hope everybody was able to hear and see the video. Please shoot us a quick yes if you can, just so that we are not assuming that everybody saw that. All right, we'll get on to the next slide, which is, oh, we have a question. Yay! I'm going to mute myself and let Michelle pose the question.
Yeah, so we just have one question asking what number 4 bullet point was on the video.
No, oh, on the video. So can you see that real quick?
Yes, let me reopen the video as I have it shared.
Independently means creating alignment. Each actor doing their own part, using their unique, a support team that helps mobilize, share helps with each other.
Pause it right here. This video will be made available, is made available on our website. We have a link to the high impact information page on the TPP page where you can find this video if you want to peruse it in more detail later on. Yes. This will be in this presentation recording that will be made available on the TPP website. Okay.
All right, I am back on, I believe, and everybody else has muted themselves. Okay, so let's get back to the PowerPoint presentation. So we mentioned there are 3 funding scenarios: program, planning, and pilot. You must select one funding scenario. You cannot select more than one. So we want to be very explicit about that. One of the 3 funding scenarios each organization is able to apply to. So who can apply to TPP? And I'm not seeing the PowerPoint on my screen. So let's make sure there we go. I can see it now. All right, who can apply to TCPP? Nonprofit status, government agency, community group with a fiscal agent, which meets one of the requirements, nonprofit or government agency, a public agency, an educational institution. You may have seen this in your table and handout, which specifies which documents that each of these agencies, there's 3 organizations, it's in the handout, so you can see we have kind of broken out each agency in the required documents. And it's also on our website page for this grant cycle. Required documents, this is how we, the financial health is measured. So IRS 990s, most recent board-reviewed internal financial statements, which are your balance sheet, your income statement. If the last fiscal year's gross receipts were more than $500,000, then we require an independent external audit. An operational budget for the organization is required. Board composition should reflect diverse experiences and backgrounds. And we require a minimum of 5 board members for applying organizations. All right, a reminder that this information is included in the handout and website. These are non-negotiables. This is important to the foundation as we increase, as these elements increase funder and donor confidence. We are reviewing stewardship principles and practices, and these documents and their timeliness reflect your stewardship practices. We have provided examples on our website of what is requested. Please follow the formats. And of course, we understand that there may be organizations that just received their 501c3 status in, let's say, November of last year, so you're not going to have a financial history. We have made allowances for that. Instead of financial history, there is a place on the org's profile with these requested documents that we're getting recommendation letters from the board chair and a partner agency. So, and there are other examples that an organization may not have these documents, and let's say you just crossed the threshold of $500,000. We understand that there is a delay. There's a process of finding the firm to help you do your audit, and there's a cost associated. So, you know, please contact us with these very unique circumstances and let us know, and we will work with you. All right. Let's go to the next slide. Let's talk about the restrictions. Fresno Regional Foundation will not consider grant requests for the following: previously incurred expenses, fundraising by one agency on behalf of another. We will not fund endowments. Institutions limiting their services to persons of a single religious sect or denomination. And we will not give grants to individuals. Reporting requirements. We'll spend some time here on the reporting requirements. This is important. This is an important piece for the foundation. When we were developing the grant-making program in 2007, the first document that we developed before the application and our profile was the final report. The foundation wanted to know, what do we want to know with these grants once we fund these grants? And so the final report was the first document that was developed. This is the most important piece for the foundation, as the final report allows the foundation to share what we are doing with our grant-making program in the community. How is it demonstrating impact in the community? So we share this information with you because we encourage you to go to the final report and review what the requested information and data is contained there. And I think one thing that we are going to try to do is maybe create a PDF and put it on the page so everybody could just download it for ease. We'll just create a PDF of the final report so you can see it. We've added some requested information this year beginning this year, and we're requiring information about parents of the youth you're serving, or maybe the parents that will be a part of your program. In any case, please review the final report. Review the final report before requirements form, and review the requirements carefully before you apply. Organizations must be prepared to comply with all reporting requirements at the end of the grant period. Failure to submit the final report may disqualify the grantee from future funding requests. Also, you'll be asked in the final report to provide electronic copies of press releases or media contacts resulting from the grant award. Please also, we welcome photos, newsletters, mailing lists, and for you to share your success throughout the year as we progress towards the final report. We use this information to increase your profile in the community by highlighting your great work to the community, donors, and other funders. Okay, now the how to apply using Olga, which is our online grant application system. We call her Olga. And just a heads up, we are transitioning Olga right now. We will be implementing a new system. I think Kelvin said Olga's getting married. So she will be known as Flux next year. And so we're transitioning that this year. And believe you me, we are very mindful of what transitions in an online application means for our applicants. So we will be here to support you, and we're going to make this transition so very seamless and easy for everyone. But we thought we'd just share that with you. All right. I'm going to go over some tips applying. The first is, please make certain that the grant amount requested falls within the given ranges. So when you're applying, be mindful of the grant ranges. Do not exceed the grant ranges. So program grants are the bottom floor amount is 50. The max amount is 100. Please do not submit $25,000 for the 2-year grants or $200,000 for the 2-year grants. And the 1-year grants are $20,000 to $25,000. Please stay within the range. For TPP, you are required to fill out narrative attachments and both worksheets on budget attachments. So in our normal application process, we believe that the amount of work should be commensurate with the amount requested. So if you're applying for $10,000, less than $10,001, then we just have a set of questions. I believe there are 5, and they have word limits. If you're applying for $10,000 and $10,001, then that kicks you into added questions to answer. Well, all of the applications in this grant cycle exceed $10,001, so everybody will be submitting the additional questions. There are no word limits in the additional questions. We encourage you not to repeat yourself when you're answering the additional questions. We ask the questions in the template to get to those answers in a very concise way, and the additional questions are to allow you to elaborate on the program, and those questions align with that. Also, for the budget, there are 2 worksheets in that budget template. Everybody will be completing both tabs in that, or both worksheets. Also, when you're labeling your attachments, all the attachments, please do not use symbols. We have provided examples of how to label. It will delay the review process of your OPF and application, so no symbols in any of the labeling of the attachments. Be mindful of the status of return for editing and submit to FRF. While you are working on your documents, you will be in return for editing mode. When it comes to the deadline, please remember to submit to FRF. Otherwise, we will not be reviewing return for editing applications, because that tells us you're still working on it. Also, please use the view mode to check the attachments. So while you're working on your OPS and applications, you're in edit mode. And you want to see if it attached. Well, you have to get out of edit mode and go into view mode. Then you also want to be mindful of your browsers. Please use Firefox or Google Chrome. Do not use Internet Explorer. Again, please use Firefox or Google Chrome. And lastly, give yourself plenty of time to complete all the documentation, to provide the documentation to complete and populate your application in OPF. Some of these documents you have to request it from somebody else, and so you need to give those people time to get you the requested documents. These things that I just went over generate, I would say, almost 100% of the questions during an application process. These are tips. Please keep these handy to remind yourself of applying. I think we're doing good on time. Do we have any questions yet? Okay, we have a question. I'm going to mute myself.
All right, so do grant applicants submit a new OPF per grant application, or do we only do that once? For example, our organization submitted an OPF when we applied for the Arts and Culture grant. Would we still complete an OPF to be eligible for this application as well?
Answer.
No, the OPF needs to be completed once in a calendar year. So if you have been approved for the 2014 year, then you are okay to apply for this grant cycle. But if you submitted an OPF in either November or December of last year in 2013, you will need to update your OPF for the 2014 year.
Okay, I'm back on, and so there's a great question. OPF only updated in once a calendar year. So we did see that 13% of you are new to the foundation, so all of you will be creating an OPF, and there should just be one OPF per organization. Okay, thank you. Great question. All right, let's go to start here. All right. Here's our home page. We're going to go to Olga Login. Okay, so we're going to start for those 13% of you that this is your first time, you've never applied to us, this is where you're going to go, request an account. And let's say you're new to the organization and you don't think your organization has applied. Let's check to make sure. So go into the check existing TIN, put in your organization's name, and you put it in, and if it comes up, then that organization has applied. So you need to find who has the username and password for your organization, because we assign one per organization. All right, so now let's say you don't have anything. You're going to populate this. This is very straightforward and direct. We're not going to spend a lot of time. You populate it. You're going to get a username and password. All right, so let's go back in as if we have our username and password. So my Olga login, username, password, and we'll give, there we go. This is what you're going to see with your username and password. Again, we're going to put a PDF of the final report, but let's go to the final report, show you where it is right now. And nobody's going to have a final report on this grant cycle. We just want you to look at what we're requesting. So click the Submit Report, and then you can see, you could print a PDF right here, there, so you could see what we are requesting in data and information. Please take a look at this carefully. All right. So now let's go into MyOP. They're going to download this and review this on their own time. All right, so the 13% of you that are new, you're not going to have anything in this window. You'll see Fresno Regional Foundation does as our example, but you won't have anything, so you're going to create an OPF. Okay, you're going to create one. So that's what it's going to look like. Let's go back into ours so that we're in. And for those of you, I think we had 88% that are returning. If you have not applied to arts and culture or youth this year, then you are going to update it. If you've applied to arts and culture or youth, you haven't updated the OPF if you have submitted everything and we processed you and you submitted an application. All right, so here we go. I'm going to go over, let's go down to the bottom where the edit, excuse me. So here's what we're referring to in your submission status. While you are editing this document, you will be in return for editing. And when you're ready to submit it to FRF so that we can process, you'll change the status. And there's your save button. Be mindful of the timer up top. Oh, there we go. The timer up top. You want to hit that save button before the timer lets out, so it refreshes your page. This is all very straightforward. We have provided examples of each of the requested documents in blue beside it. Go up a little bit, Kelvin, to show them the labeling of the documents. Go up to how do I name my attachments. We've given you examples of it. We have provided as much information as we possibly can to make this an easy process for you. All right. Let's go to the application, just so that they could see that. Everybody is going to apply for a grant, so you are not touching anything that's in any of these tabs already, but you are able to see them and review them. So you'll hit TPP and you're going to apply for a grant. Again, there's a timer. You go down to the bottom and you'll have the submission status. And there are two attachments that you're attaching here. And that is the budget template and the narrative attachment. Everybody is submitting that. And there's two worksheets on that budget template. So please be mindful of it. Okay. This is very straightforward, direct. We're not going to go through every single thing you have to populate here. All right, let's get to the submission of OPF and applications. The foundation has 3 layers to ensure that the OPFs and applications are successfully submitted. The first layer was the web page confirmation. And Kelvin, you want to go back to that? I was trying to keep you on the Olga. So the first is once you hit that save button on the document, and we'll go down, so whether you are returning for editing or submitting to us, once you hit that button, if everything is taken, you're going to get this page. This is the confirmation page. This is the web page confirmation. Now, it doesn't know whether you did return for editing or submit. We know that. But what this is telling you that whatever updates you made have been received and were captured. That's the first layer. The next layer is an automated email sent to applicants once the item is submitted. And it's coming from Control Camp. So this confirmation page is your first layer. Then you're going to receive an email, and it's the email that's tied to the username, okay, for your organization. So you may be working on behalf of somebody, but they are going to get that email confirmation then because you are not the contact person for the organization. And then the final layer is an email approval from the program staff. Now, you're not going to get that in a 24-hour or 48-hour period because most of you will not submit this application until the deadline. So we will process them the next week in order of submission, and you will get an email confirmation from the program staff that either we've received it and it's missing items, or we've received it and everything is good to go. And we have a question, so I'm going to put myself on mute so Michelle can share the question.
Actually, I was just wanting to add something to what you were just saying, Sandra. Please make sure that in your OPF and your applications that the contact email is accurate, and they'll be the one receiving. So oftentimes when we are processing, we'll email you either that the application has been accepted, or if we need things to be followed up on, say if something was missing or we couldn't open an attachment. So please be mindful of that email, because that's who we will be contacting, and we will need a quick turnaround when we are in the processing part of everything. And that will also go to our committee as well. So we need everything updated for our committee to review.
And I want to add something else, Michelle. The email that is on file on your OPF is the one that shows up here on the OPF. And if you want to change that email or update it to a new one, you can click under your name, account settings, and update it here. And that will show up on your application and OPF.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Michelle and Kelvin. Again, if you have any questions after this webinar, please feel free to email us or to call, and we will review, reiterate, and help you through the process. Okay, so we're down to final tips. And it's essentially restating what we started with. Grant amounts requested must fall within the given ranges. For TPP, you are required to fill out the narrative attachment and both worksheets on the budget attachment. No symbols in the file of the attachments, please. Be mindful of your return for editing or submit to FRF status in all the forms. When we get to the 5 o'clock deadline, you want to be and submit to FRF. Otherwise, we will not review it. Use view mode to check if the attachments were uploaded and the narrative boxes, and that the narrative boxes are not cut off. So sometimes when you're typing away, and you, especially in the template, again, that has a word limit. You've exceeded the word limit, and it's not complete and coherent. So you want to view what we are viewing. So go into view mode. You've got to get out of edit mode. Also use Firefox or Google Chrome. Do not use Internet Explorer. Use Firefox or Google Chrome. And finally, give yourself plenty of time to complete all the documentation. All right. Do we have any questions? Or Michelle or Kelvin, would you like to add anything? Questions? I'm not seeing anything. Kelvin, Michelle, nothing to add? Oh, Michelle and me.
Yes, I see that the hyperlinks on the PDF are not working. So both of those hyperlinks are on our grant making program page. Under TPP, if you scroll down, there will be 2 links. If Kelvin, you can go there, perfect. The grant programs. So you'll automatically be on teen pregnancy prevention. If you scroll down, those 2 links for the evidence-based programs are right there. I will update that PDF. You will also be able to find that PDF as well as a copy of this PowerPoint down below in the information resources. Also, regarding the deadlines, you'll see that we've got a June 6th is the deadline for the organizational profile form. And then June 20th is the application deadline. Following the application deadline, the TPP committee will be conducting site visits for applicants who are selected. So please be mindful, right after that application deadline, we will be contacting you. If you have been selected, those site visit dates will be for July 30th and 31st. So please keep those dates in mind. Following that, the committee will meet again to review the applications to recommend full applicants to our board. The board will meet the 2nd week of August to decide on those applications. So we are looking at an late August to receive those grants if you have been selected. And we have another question that just came in. If the person who applied for grant cycles in the past is no longer with the organization, can the login be reassigned or reset? Yes, it can. If you want to follow up with me via email, I will work on this with you one-on-one. And my email is Michelle, M-I-C-H-E-L-L-E, at Fresno Reg, R-E-G, Foundation.org. And at this time, I'm not seeing any other questions. If you have any, please go ahead and submit, and we'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, I am back on, I believe, and we are at 11:49 by my clock. So if there are no other questions, we will wrap up this webinar. But please know that if questions emerge after we go off, feel free to contact us. You may call the office. You may email us. And if you email @program@Fresno Regional Foundation, it will get to all three of us. All right. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it, and we're glad we had a chance to go over this information. Talk to you soon, and take care.